No. Who tells me no? Apparently, my job in human resources. And it's not funny at all. I'm just tripping because I don't even know how the conversation started. Like, I didn't reach out to HR intentionally to be like, hey, are y'all okay with me working full time and living aboard cruise ships while working remotely here? Like, I didn't ask them, but apparently I found my way around to the conversation, and the answer was a resounding no. Hello, my name is Talethea, and I am hoping that you all will come along with me as I work and plan and research and execute my intent to go from working from home full time to living on board cruise ships while also working full time. So let's do it. The answer was a resounding no. They said no, you can't do it. I even made it clear in the most rational way possible that it was my intention to figure it out. I was going to take this next year or so to try the different cruise lines, work out the internet, see what the logistics were, and see how I felt about it. And yep, nope, I still got to know. So, apparently, working remotely from anywhere does not necessarily mean anywhere. So, we're going to figure this out, right, y'all? So, if you are new here, my name is Talethea, and it is my intention to work and live full time while working remotely on board cruise ships. I am going to change my life. I am using this next year to transition from figuring out how to work at home to working and living on board cruise ships. Now, I know I gotta know, but a lot can happen in a year. So let's talk about it a little bit, y'all. So my thoughts were this: I would keep track of the time zones. I would make sure the internet was working. And like all of the other people that I have been able to talk to and research and kind of learn more about, I would work remotely on board cruise ships while traveling the world. So, somehow I found myself having a conversation with human resources, and apparently they are not happy with my intention. Apparently, international work is not permitted at my place of employment, which is interesting. And when you're on a cruise ship, you're obviously not staying in one place. It was also mentioned that they didn't like the idea of the ship moving around constantly. So apparently that's a concern as well. I don't know. The moving and traveling between ports, there were a lot of pretty not well documented, quite a few opinions that were offered and reasons why they just don't think it's a good idea. And I guess another concern was like the internet and would I be able to consistently log on and do my job, which is why I mentioned it was my intention to go on to go and figure it out, to take the next year or so figuring out how it could work. But with this current employer in this current position in this particular situation, apparently it is not something that they are prepared to okay. So we'll see, right? I mean, I have a whole year to go, and I don't know. One of the things that I think is interesting is I started Talethea Cruises because I wanted to be sure to document this journey, right? I wanted to be sure to kind of document how I went from working at home and living at home to working and living on board cruise ships. I'm figuring this thing out in real time. So I am doing the research, asking the questions, and trying to work everything out. But apparently they aren't open to the me figuring it out part of things either. So it doesn't necessarily look at this point like that part of things will work for this plan. So I don't know. If I work remotely, my question is, why can't I just work anywhere? As long as I'm able to log on and successfully do my job from wherever I live. My boss was okay with the idea. In fact, I kind of mentioned it to her first. I'm not sure how the conversation got from her to human resources, but I do know I didn't work hard to hide it, right? I didn't walk around. I didn't like send out like a company-wide email and tell everybody, but I also wasn't trying to hide it. And I wasn't going to sneak. I'm not going to try to sneak in and out of the country with these people's equipment and data and do anything like that, because whatever. That's not worth it either. But apparently, I guess one of the things that they feel strongly about is me having a stable, non-moving work location as a part of my work from home agreement. So I don't know. We'll see. And I don't know if you are considering working and living remotely or living full time on cruise ships like I have been. You may also want to do a little research and figure out just what do they mean by working from home. There may be some security concerns as far as like your internet is concerned. There may be some legal or tax considerations. I know international travel can be a thing. That being said, I also know if that were a restriction, that's something I can work within. There are enough like cruises that go in and out of like the United States and the United States owned territories where I could have made that happen. But that doesn't sound like this particular employer will be okay with that. So you may need to I guess at this point, as a part of my research, that's another thing I'll be researching, right? How exactly to work this out. So we'll see how it goes. How do other people make it work, right? Because we know other people do. I know for certain that there are other people that work and live full time on cruise ships, and they're able to make it work. So I am really interested in hearing a little bit more about how they're able to work that out. I guess with their employer and the different considerations that are there. That being said, yeah, they said no. Not we'll see. Not sure, go ahead and figure it out. Not yes, we are welcome to you going and doing some research. The answer was just no. So we'll see how this goes. So apparently, working remotely and having a location independent job are not necessarily the same thing. So that's something else that you'll want to keep in mind, that I need to keep in mind. If this is something that you are interested in, your employer may want you to have, I guess, a more reliable internet connection than they feel like cruise ships can afford. That being said, that was another thing that I mentioned. How, in addition to the options that are offered online on the cruise ship, I was also intending to use the travel or the international package offered by my current provider. The people that handle my internet while I'm at home, but it doesn't look like that would have been able to be an option either. So at this point, my question is like, how do people make it work? Because we know people do it. There are people who travel full time. There are people, digital nomads. That's a thing. There are people who work while cruising. There are people who go and they will spend months at sea. And I also know that there are people who build their entire lives around being able to work and just kind of go to different places. So what are they doing differently? Do y'all know any people that are currently like, I guess, either digital nomads or they travel and they work abroad or work on cruise ships? Let us know, like, what different resources or things that they've been able to tap into. I don't know, maybe it's a different company or something along those lines. I'm not actively looking for a new job now. Here again, it's not my intention to go and live on cruise ships full time for another year. I was going to take this next year to kind of research it and figure out the logistics. So I don't know. A lot can change in a year. We'll see, right? But as for now, just doesn't look like my particular plan to go and work and live. Work to live and work full time on cruise ships while working remotely with this particular employer will be an option. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to continue to research, and I'm going to continue to kind of just find out a little bit more about just the different regulations here at my company. I just assumed that as long as I was showing up and doing my job and not causing any problems, that nobody would have a problem with it. I was wrong. So for now, I am still with the same company. I have not left. I actually didn't. I didn't intend to. I didn't intend for this particular goal in my life, transitioning from working at home to living on cruise ships, to mean finding another employer. Like I mentioned before, I actually like this job. So we'll see how it goes. I am still doing research. Like I said, like I already mentioned, it's not my intention to go and live on cruise ships full time until next year in May. So there's a lot of time left. Maybe that decision will change in the meantime. Maybe it will not. I don't know. Either way, I know I've got quite a few months to still continue researching and just conducting my research trips, my research cruises as I figure that out. And in the meantime, y'all, come along, find out how this turned out, right? Like I mentioned before, my next research cruise is coming up in just 10 days. 10 days. So I'll be on my cruise, my very first cruise ever, and my first research cruise in 10 days. And so I'll be taking y'all along. In the meantime, be sure to like and subscribe or follow. Fill out any questions or suggestions you may have in the comments. Do you know of anybody that works full time on cruise ships? What's their setup? How were they able to explain it to their employer that this was totally a viable option? Did they work to explain that to their employer? I don't know. Let's talk about it in the comments, y'all. Keep an eye out for the rest of the series as I continue to work and research and I guess encounter unexpected things as I figure out how to transition my life from working and living full time at home to working remotely and living full time on cruise ships. I will see y'all next time. Have a good day, y'all. Take care.